Hey everybody, once again I'm R. Adrianus and this is another review. We're going to be doing kind of a split review today. We're going to be doing reviews for two very interesting comic books. You guys may remember that we did a review for the Villain Month Batman comic books that were last month, the first two, which were Joker and the Riddler. Go ahead and get on the channel and check that out. But today we're going to be talking about Bane and Penguin, which were the last two of that month. Villains Month ended last September. It was a pretty interesting run, and these were just the last two puzzle pieces of that complete set of works. And then also what we're going to be talking about today is just a brief film review. Our first film review, yay! For the film Gravity, which just came out, featuring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. So let's just start. Villains Month, comic books, that stuff. When I picked up these comic books, I was really anxious to get into Penguin most of all, because I don't really read a lot of Penguin, and I mean I know him as a character. I know what his MO is. I know his whole sense of purpose. He's like a crime boss. He doesn't really have powers, but he's very well prepared, very well instituted in the finer dealings of Gotham. When I was reading this comic book, it's not necessarily these characters going up against Batman. The Villains Month were mainly to exhibit how crucial these characters are to the overarching worlds. Some of the issues did better than others, but Penguin's really showed like how much holding he has on the world of Gotham, and perhaps even the greater span of the world around him. I mean, he has so much weight and so much leverage on everyone. It's ridiculous. The whole premise of the book. We'll try to do this as spoiler free as possible. The whole premise of the issue was him dealing with this politician, and what this politician means to Penguin's own agenda, his own criminal agenda. And just the length that Penguin takes, how diabolical he is and well prepared. It really blew me away. It was on par with the Riddler issue, which came out the week prior to this one. The Riddler one was just amazing, I think. This one was pretty excellent as well. Penguin was probably in one of his prime forms in this issue, at least from what I've read. Like I mentioned, I haven't read that much of Penguin, but having read this issue, it made me want to read more, because it's like, wow, this is a criminal. This is one of Batman's villains who probably does pose so much of a threat, but not because of his strength, because of his keen mind. Mind you, Penguin is very smart, but because of how well versed he is in the world of Gotham. It's just it was pretty cool. It was very interesting to see this different stroke of character. As opposed to the next character featured in the Batman Villains Month, which was Bane. Bane was a different story all its own. Literally, not funny. Bane was he was an interesting read. Mind you, Bane is a really good character. Let's not knock the character just based off of this issue. I mean, we had that amazing movie last year, Dark Knight Rises, which featured Bane, which was a pretty cool adaptation of the character to the screen. This character, it did show how much, how inspiring Bane is. We're not going to say that it's inspiration that's good, but he does inspire the masses to follow him, for better or for worse. They do become his drones, and and they know what kind of what kind of life they're gonna lead. Bane wants to lead a campaign against Gotham. That's the whole premise of this issue, and it just shows his ruthlessness. That's the ultimate point of this issue was Bane is a ruthless bastard. I mean, that's what it comes down to. He's really strong, obviously, because of the whole Venom thing. He soups up. But as far as character exhibition, it wasn't that great. I mean, it wasn't anything we didn't really know about Bane. Or if it was something we knew, they didn't really bring it to light in a way that would have made it compelling. I would have liked to have seen Bane do more intelligible things, I would suppose, or even more things with his strength. Yeah, they did show him like fighting off a bunch of dudes, but I mean they were just grunt like characters, and people you didn't really care about. So yeah, that was unfortunate. Bane was probably the weakest of the series. Now that the series, or at least for Batman, because the Villains Month went through all of the DC titles, but I just read the Batman titles because that's what I read. I read Batman. As if we're gonna go in order of quality, not to say that any of these issues are extremely poor in any regard, but there are others that shine more. So I guess the best ones, in my humble opinion, would be probably the Riddler as the top. Riddler was just excellent. Penguin as the second, like I mentioned, it exhibited how well prepared, how much of a grasp he has on Gotham. And then Joker was third, which was unfortunate because Joker is one of my favorite characters in all of literature, whether it's books or comic books or whatever. It was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, Joker's issue was probably third best. It was good. It did show off his character very well. It just lacked some of the qualities that qualities of Joker that I wanted to see shown in an issue that's all about him. I mean, it did miss some of those notes, so that was kind of sad. And then Bane being the last, because Bane's was just it was satisfactory across the board, but it didn't really shine in any regard. So yeah, Villains Month, Batman. It was a good. It was a good series. I did enjoy it, so if you get the opportunity, if you go to your local comic book store, pick them up, and then feel free to check out the video of my review of Riddler and Joker from the previous weeks for Villain Month. But let's move on to the movie Gravity, featuring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. You guys may notice I posted a sit-downs earlier this week when I was at the movie theater. I thought that was a nice little fun moment. It was kind of weird for me, but it was nice. I liked filming it, like, not in the normal area. But yeah, I saw Gravity. It was a pretty excellent film. So yeah, it starts off basically at a conventional, during a conventional mission. These astronauts are trying to fix a satellite, as they do, and turns out there's this whole crisis where these other satellites have been destroyed, and they've gone into orbit around the Earth, and they're about to hit these astronauts while they're working off their shuttle and on their satellite. And the main characters are George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, both of them being astronauts. George Clooney is the team leader. He's the lieutenant. He's the commanding officer for all the rest of the astronauts. Sandra Bullock plays a science officer, and she does maintenance and stuff, and I think she's the physician. Yeah, it was a very good film. Visually, I mean, you really can't top it. I remember mentioning in the sit-downs about how films are being very science fiction-y nowadays. It's like you don't really have a lot of stories out there that aren't going to be science fiction oriented or have something that's inspired by science fiction, and Gravity is no different. Mind you, it's not truly science fiction because this is stuff that does happen. I mean, you have had crisis with space exploration before, and you read any history book, anything within the past century or the previous century, people during the space race, during the shuttle missions at NASA. I mean, you had stuff like this or similar stuff like this happen. That's why Gravity is so pivotal, I think, as a film. It brings that to light. But Gravity visually was excellent. The story, I would say, was a little. It was pushing the standard a little bit too much for believability. I only say that because the things that the characters go through to survive this crisis, the whole point is to try to make it back to Earth, because the mission has gone awry, and their lives are at stake, and that's the whole point of the movie. It's not really a spoiler. You kind of get that from the trailer, but yeah, it was good. Performances were quite good, considering that it is essentially just another survival story. Survival stories are really, I think, one of the most delicate stories to try to pull off, mainly because it's only going to be you and probably maybe somebody else. I mean, you have movies like this, Gravity, another movie like 127 Hours, where it's a similar, it's a survival story, only it's in like the wilderness in the mountains. And then you have Castaway, excellent film featuring Tom Hanks, when he was basically the only person on screen for about 80, no, maybe even 90% of the movie. So I mean, yeah, it's a really delicate situation, and I think that these characters in Gravity were treated with a lot of care by the creative team and by the actors. Sandra Bullock did her character fairly well. There were moments when I wanted to slap Sandra Bullock's character. She was just doing these things that you just were like, why are you doing that? You're so silly, aren't you an astronaut? So I guess that was just kind of to create the suspense of the film, which is, it's 100% of the movie. It's suspense and that alertness to try to survive. George Clooney's character is very, you can sympathize a lot with his character because he's very humanized. Sandra Bullock's character is the one that's kind of detached, the one that's, she's had a disaster in her life. I'll let that for the viewers to discover. But she has had a tragedy in her life that kind of pulls her from the gravity of the world. She's not really down to earth. She's kind of, I don't know, out in space. Okay, I need to stop with these cliches. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it was a good film, like I mentioned. Visually, it was excellent. The technology that we have nowadays to make films like this have really pushed the standard. We have films that have done so already previously that were science fiction films, like Avatar or something. Avatar is one of my favorite films, and it's purely science fiction. And they really did use the most cutting edge technology that we have for filmmaking for that film. And it's good to see that several years later, what is it, like 4 years later, that we have a movie like Gravity. It's not even using like the other world as its focal point. This is just stuff that happens, not really day to day, but that's happened, on our planet, near our planet, however you want to phrase it. With the space exploration and all of our astronauts. It's kind of cool that these or at least these people have kind of been given a similar story to kind of get behind. Like, yeah, that's how it goes. We're in space and we're scared out of our pants and sort of deal. I mean, it was a very excellent movie. I do see some awards on the horizon for this movie, if not for the acting, but definitely for the visual effects and like editing, things like that. It was really a well put together film. It's not going to be for everybody, unfortunately. It is very suspenseful. There are a lot of emotional moments, disastrous, hopeless moments, so some people might not be drawn to that. But yeah, it is something that a lot of film enthusiasts I would suggest to go see, because you can't really get past this movie. It has done quite a bit. It's very noteworthy. So hope this has been a good series of reviews for everybody. So like I mentioned, go out there, go read the Villains Month comics and see what you think. Gravity, go to your local theater and check it out like I did. Feel free to comment. And then don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to be posting up some vlog videos. I know I mentioned I was going to be doing that last week. Hands are tied. Haircut is gone. Hair is gone from haircut. I can say words. And yeah, so sorry guys. I know you've been used to the previous me. He's been replaced. New anchor. Yeah. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Like I mentioned, new vlog, sit downs this week. And we'll be in touch, alright? Peace and love.